James Kalm began the bike. So here at the ACCOLA and GRIEFEN Gallery, and we're going to look at Visual Feast, which is a collection of some of the most outstanding and long practicing members of the Pattern Decorative movement. Now I pedaled my butt over here from Brooklyn and ran up 6 flights of stairs because I've always been a big fan of the Pattern Decorative movement, and we're going to take a look at the show. We're going to snag Kat Griffin and get her to give us a little narrative as we walk around and look at the show. Tell us about the show.
Sure. The exhibition, Visual Feast, is a pattern decoration exhibition. Not a definitive story, and not only the original artists, but quite a few of them. P&D as a movement is something that started in the 1970s through 1980s.
Right, 1977, PS1, curated by John Peralt.
You know it very well. You know it very well. And we have
a fan.
A number of the artists who were in that early exhibition, including Robert Zakanitch, whose work represents how kind of important the public works were within the movement. So this is a test print from a very, very large work that is actually the curtains at the Opera House in Miami.
Oh, that's great.
The next pieces we'll be looking at.
Okay, let's push our way through the mobs here.
Are two photographs. This is
Robert Kushner.
Robert Kushner. These are photo documentation of a piece on a food piece he did. So this is actually individuals dressed in food. And
what kind of food?
There's some
Is that
lettuce,
pasta?
there's some celery, there's some pasta, there's
that
some
bacon?
asparagus.
Okay.
And this kind of plays on the secondary theme of the show, which is the visual feast.
I think one of the interesting things is also that a lot of people think Pattern Decorative was just about painting, but it was also into performance and
sculpture.
And sculpture, yes.
This is a piece from the 1970s by Pat Lash.
Pat Lash.
Her parents were bakers. So the process that she developed and which she continued, she still works in, involves using
confectioner's tubes and squirting it out like icing on a cake.
Acrylic paint through a pastry tube. I was the director at AIR Gallery, which was founded in the 1970s by artists including Pat Lash and Mary Grigoriadis.
A lot of lady artists.
Only. It was the first gallery of only women artists that opened in the United States.
AIR.
Yes.
Okay. How about this?
Piece by Kira Nam
Greene.
Who is one of kind of the younger artists in the group. This exhibition is not just about the founders of P&D as a movement, but also about the important permissions that movement gave.
So now we get to see some of the big stuff.
So this exhibition also includes some very recent pieces.
Right, Judy Pfaff.
This is a new work by Judy Pfaff, who did in 2012, that also was recently shown at the Bruno David Gallery. Like a lot of her recent work, it includes a lot of paper materials.
And also found things that she's just incorporated into the work.
A lot of found materials as well. Unlike some of her earlier work, which was used more industrial materials and much heavier materials, like I said, this is has a much lighter feel to it.
And how about this large piece over here? Is this?
This is actually an early work from the 1970s by Joyce Kozloff.
Joyce Kozloff.
It's a work on paper.
She's the wife of Max Kozloff, right? The
yes,
well-known art critic.
That's not relevant necessarily to
I know,
the show, but yes. And this piece is Mad Russian Hat. And as I always like to credit and appreciate, this was kindly on loan from DC Moore Gallery.
Now, is this a study for a ceramic piece that she was doing?
No, this is
she did do a lot of ceramic,
She
right?
did do a lot of ceramic work, and actually she did some really interesting collaborations with Betty Woodman as well at the time, where she did the actual patterning on the outside of the ceramics, and Betty was actually creating the pictures and the bowls in the process.
Okay, maybe we'll take a look at this piece.
Sure. This piece, Nike, by Mary Grigoriadis.
Mary Grigoriadis.
Mary Grigoriadis, yes, is a piece from the 1980s. There's two other pieces that are earlier from the 1970s on the left. She was one of the pattern decoration orders, like people like to say P&D.
Yes.
One of the originators who started working as early as the 70s.
And she was also one of the founders of AIR, wasn't she?
She was also one of the founders of AIR Gallery.
Okay.
Fabulous painting.
Yeah, you'll have to get
We love
close
this painting,
to
yes.
the camera because it's many very thin layers of oil on oil on oil.
Well, maybe we'll be able to
That give
snag
this
Mary and talk to her a little about it. Yes.
And actually, you certainly should. She's very eloquent on her own work, and they're in the lovely red scarf.
Thank you very much, Kat.
No problem.
I'll let you go back to work.
Thank you. Enjoy.
All right, thank you. That was Kat Griffin here. Well, I bumped into some of this work maybe in the first month or two that I came to New York, and I was just was really overwhelmed with it. I think that Mary is a fabulous artist.
Lauren, I was able to corral Mary, so
Here's Mary. Are you bashful?
this is Mary Grigoriadis.
Hi.
Would you talk on video?
Sure. Briefly.
Well, tell us a little bit about the painting and your connection with Pattern Decorative.
I was making pattern paintings in the early 70s.
Yes.
Just because I absolutely love patterns, repeated patterns, borders, sumptuous surfaces, and I was making them, and then I connected with Joyce Kozloff and with this other group of wonderful artists.
So you were going to the meetings? There was a meetings in somebody's
I
loft?
had a little baby,
Oh,
and I didn't go to meetings. I was
That's
at
more-
AIR. I had
Yes.
many meetings, no meetings with the group.
where do you think that the kind of the difference between just abstraction and decorative or pattern-like painting comes in? Where do you think that the line between those two
I think the
sensibilities
patterning
is?
gives you a structure to work with, whereas I think abstract artists, pure abstract artists, have less of a template to work on. They have to create more.
So where do the decorative artists get their templates? Is that just from classical decorative art, or?
I studied art history. I looked at a lot of art, and I always loved the edges, loved the beautiful surfaces, and that's why.
So did that come from ceramics, fabric design, furniture, architecture?
Architecture, more architecture.
Architecture.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we love your painting. You still working?
Yes.
Are we going to get a chance to see some of the new paintings at some point?
I'm going to show here in April 2013.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Bye.
Okay. Well, they're turning off the lights here, but I'm going to try to run around and get a couple of views of some of the other pieces. These are a couple of smaller pieces by Mary, and I would say those are probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 12 or 14-inch squares. This is a little sculpture by Barbara Zucker called Table Ruffle. This is brass, conduit, and paint. It's on a tiny little table. This is by Carolyn Marr, M-A-H-E-R, and it's titled Worship. Acrylic wash ink, pen and pencil on paper. Piece by Miriam Schapiro. Well, Miriam Schapiro is one of the real founders of the movement, and she was part of Woman's House in LA back in 1972 or 73. This is titled Grandma Bolero. Collage mixed media on paper from 1980. These are a couple of drawings by Susan Happersett. This is titled Modular 1, ink on paper, 16 by 16. This is Between the Marks, ink on paper, 18 by 18. These are a couple of works on paper by Charles Koegel. kind of nice. He's taken the little facades of houses and kind of turned them into patterns.
On the bottom side, they were atoms.
This one is titled "Meanwhile in Reality."
But she couldn't figure it out, so I got Abigail to the land to let the house somehow get something related to
This is James Kalm reporting on a visual feast here at ACCOLA Griffin Gallery, 547 West 27th Street in Chelsea. Thank you, Kate.